So if you're, I'm going to say fortunate enough to work in the military establishment and also be a student of history, you'll learn if you study British history, military history, that the British have a tendency to crank out some products that look nothing like what anybody else is even thinking of. And this ship, I think, in the World of Warships Legends game, is probably the primary example of that. This is the Tier VIII Battlecruiser, the Duncan. Um, this is also known for people who are fans of military history. This ship would be considered the British G3 battlecruiser or fast battleship design. You can see what makes this ship very unique is the way her guns are laid out. So this isn't so special here. You've got the bridge, the tower in the middle, and then you've got two 16-inch, or I think they're in the game here, 16.5-inch turrets in front of that. What is unique is the next turret, the aft turret, instead of being back here behind the aft superstructure, the main mast, and the funnels, is actually just behind the bridge. So all of her guns are up forward. You may ask yourselves, why in the world would anybody design, this looks very much unlike what a lot of the other ships in the game look like. Why would anybody design a ship like this? And I'll tell you why they design a ship like this. It's because the British were attempting to make something that was an answer to the American Colorado class and the Japanese Nagato class. Specifically, they were trying to find or make a design, produce a design that could answer against 16-inch gun, the new 16-inch gun battleships that were being produced by other countries. So this was their attempt to make a design that fit 16-inch guns, more 16-inch guns than pretty much anybody was fielding at the time, on a ship that was overall the biggest ship, most capable ship they could. But at the same time, they didn't want to rebuild their entire infrastructure. They didn't want to create all these new dry docks and dockyards and shipyards and all that stuff to do it. So the ship had to be able to fit somewhat into the same dock space as the biggest ship that they currently had in their inventory at the time in the late 1920s, which was the HMS Hood. So this would have been the Hood was an Admiral class battle cruiser, which would have been the preceding design to the G3s, the Duncan. So overall length dimensions are very comparable. Displacement on the Duncan is significantly higher, but she would be able to use their current facilities. And the reason, the way that they accomplished making the ship as big as possible, but also making it as small as possible, if that makes sense, let me show you, is her weird armor arrangement. So let's shut off all of her other armor besides her citadel. And there's the barbettes, there's the guns, and then you can see the tubes, those are the barbettes that go down to the citadel. That's where the magazines would have been. You can see here that citadel is the most heavily armored portion of the ship. The orange portion of the ship, if you will, is very short. And you can imagine if that aft gun, alright, I'm using the mouse, hold on, here we go. If this gun was back here someplace, this armored portion would be that much longer. So if this is the thickest armor, it means it's also the heaviest armor, right? So if it's the thickest armor, it's also the heaviest armor. So that if you increase the size of that area that needed to be covered by that heaviest armor, because you have magazines up here and you have magazines back here, now the ship is going to displace a heck of a lot more, because you have to frankly just use more steel to do it. So the British were trying to cram as much as they could into this space. Unfortunately, what ended up happening with this design, they actually authorized this design, I believe, but what ended up happening here was the Washington Naval Treaty of 1921 did away with this. This thing would blow away the restrictions of that treaty. So the British had to go back, and instead of entirely abandoning the design, which is what a lot of these other countries did, like the Americans did it with the initial South Dakota class. In the game, the South Dakotas, the original South Dakotas would be like the Minnesota and the Kansas. So what the British did instead is they went back and reworked the design into this. This is the Tier VI Nelson. See? So let's show you the armor layout of this thing. See if you see any similarities. See? It's literally, they just moved the superstructure tower back behind the third turret, which allowed them to even further reduce the length of that citadel. They also reduced the overall length of the ship. But this was the British trying to cram something like the G3 design of the Duncan into a smaller, yeah. I'm an engineer, look. English is a second language to me. In the smallest possible hull is what I'm trying to say. So, anyways, when you look at the game, we already looked at the 16-inch guns and the bridge superstructure there. You can see she's got a lot of anti-aircraft armament down the length of her. She also shares, she has twin 6-inch cruiser guns. Those are those bigger secondary turrets. But you can see these guys here, those look very much, and they are, in fact, the same, I believe they are the same secondary batteries you would find on the King George V class, which I believe were 4 1/4 inch, if I remember right, or 4 1/2. I could be wrong. But in the game, she's very interesting to play, because if you go broadside, especially at close quarters, you're going to get blown away. What's nice about her is she actually retains her under the hull, under the water torpedo tubes. She has 2 torpedo tubes, one in this general direction and one in this general area. And they are, as you're trying to keep your bow towards the ship or charging in, as you'll see in some of these videos that I have, you're able to launch torpedoes essentially everywhere except for 15 degrees off your direct bow. Her secondaries reach out longer than most other ships of her class, most other battleships do, which is especially unique for the British. But inherent to the British Battlecruiser line, but they seem, just because, I don't know if it's because they're clustered or whatever, especially if people get behind you or you run past people in close quarters combat, it seems like these secondaries do a really good job of setting people on fire. I've only had the ship for a week, so I've only played, I'd say, between 8 and 10 games in her, but it seems to be a common trait. Her anti-aircraft is wonderful, and as you can see, let's go up here. You could equip that. I've been playing with the secondaries the last couple battles, but you can see you could, if you wanted to, the defensive AA fire. I really don't run into aircraft a lot at Tier 8. I'd say maybe 50% of the games have had a carrier in it, and by the time they're picking on me, I use my speed and my speed boost to kind of dodge most torpedoes, but usually the carriers are kind of worn out and almost a non-factor by the end of the battle. I found. I have played a few games with the defensive AA fire, and it's been wonderful. For my commander, I'm using Jackie Fisher. Jack Fisher, or John Fisher, Arbuthnot. Alright, just call him John. Jack. Alright? Hi, Jack. How you doing? So, his special trait is reload time and main battery range. Both get bumped up by 3%. I used, of course, I'm going to use, I might change him because the turret traverse is already pretty good, but I use Kedrov to make sure my turrets are turning just as fast as possible, and because I'm always moving around, always looking for different targets, and Megatron. So if you go back to the specs for the ship, my range on this thing is 21.5 kilometers. I think I have a special boost on, so if we took that off and just put it back to this one, let's see what I got now. Oh no, I don't want to play. Like I said, I've only been playing the game for 5 years. I don't know how to operate this thing. Let's see, we're down to 20.8 kilometers, so that's like Iowa range, right? You can hit things from essentially across the map, which allows you, and the speed boost allows you to get yourself out of trouble if you know you're being targeted, or at least get the ship turned in a more favorable position. You have to watch out for some of the other ships that are 16-inch or above will punish you no matter really what angle you're at. but use your speed, find good places to swing those guns around, and use your HE to set targets on fire early in the battle. Um, and Fisher allows you to do that because he's a good mix of accuracy and brawler. I found you can see he's got some different traits here. I don't use this one, even though I usually get knocked down in health. I prefer to have my AP shells doing just a little bit more damage, and my traverse speed is very important to me. I'd like to have that consistent rather than just increasing and where I want it to be when I've got 10% health left, if that makes sense. He's also got a trait down here that I like. Speed is my armor. Incoming damage from shells, torpedoes, and bombs to your battleship while engine boost is active. And engine boost charges +1. So it also does some things to reduce your cooldown time of the engine boost and boost your battleship speed. I also want to tell you that I put him up here to show you what commander I'm actually using, but make no mistake that I'd much rather use this fine young lady in the game, because frankly, of all the commanders and all the voiceovers and all the things that they've done in the game, as far as bringing commanders in with themes like Optimus Prime and the Transformers and Star Trek and all this other one, this one, when she comes back around this March, I assume she's going to be back. Grab this commander, guys. She doesn't do anything to boost your skills or boost your ship or anything. It's just she is. Let's see if I can show her. She's just so much fun to play.
Cover my ship!
I love her voice.
Here for a good time, not a long time.
Perfect. That's the perfect way to describe how I play this game. So, you can't get any better than her. She's my British. I mean, frankly, she's much better to look at than Jackie Fisher. All right, Jackie Fisher was Mr. Personality of the early 20th century British Navy, but I think that I've got a couple games here that you're going to really enjoy watching. She's commanding the Duncan, and I believe I get up to 140k in this game. So, know your ship. This is the HMS Duncan, the Tier VIII British Battlecruiser. Get a load of that thing, huh? I got a cruiser and a destroyer over here with me. The cruiser we'll now affectionately call Ramses the Damned. We're past our video issues here. The stutter step destroyer was part of the video. It's hey, we're all about high quality here at Ships Go Boom. Anyways, so here we are in the Duncan, the Tier VIII British Battlecruiser. You can see the torpedoes I've got lined up there. That's off the bow, one off of each side, like I said in the earlier part of the video. I've got two teammates here that are going to actually do their job for once, and they're going to come right down this side of the map. This one's going to be an interesting one. We're going to, basically, both teams are going to pivot. We're going to come down the west side of the map, and the enemy team is going to go heavy down the, or up the east side of the map, I should say. And it's going to be interesting here. At one point, I think we're going to both be capturing our base, but they're going to get there first. And we're going to be down ships and down points. And this one's not going to be looking good for the hometown team, but I think we're going to end up pulling it out. If I remember right, I end up with 140 and change on this one, and I think I killed the last guy. So it's a good showcase of what the ship is capable of. So right there, we got a Baltimore. We only saw him for a few seconds, but we're going to put the target, the sights right where his waterline was, and we're going to space it out a little bit, assuming he's at full speed, and we're going to get, what do we got, 21,500 worth of damage on that destroyer, on that cruiser, I should say, the Baltimore. So we're going to go through a period here where it's kind of, things are taking shape. I can see everybody that is popped up on the mini map. There's at least 4 or 5 ships, including a destroyer, right in the middle, who's kind of come right down the middle to try to capture our base. Everybody's on the other side of the map. So we're going to shoot at that Russian broadside battleship. That's going to be a recurring theme here for the early part of this match. And what did we get shooting at him? 35, so 14, 3 penetrations and 2 ricochets. I'll take that. So, most importantly, I'll also take shelter behind this island when he tries to shoot back at me, and instead totally maims that poor innocent seaside village that's on the other side of this island. That's all right. They needed a new swimming pool, anyways. So, we're going to come back up the side here. We're going to get behind our destroyers, and we're going to get behind the cruiser, who's still doing good work here, trying to like sniff out the destroyers that are going to turn my ship, pop out from behind one of these islands, and turn my ship into artificial reef. I think I shot just a little too far back on that one. That I think that Russian battleship was just starting to go ahead again. So only 3,000 that time, but I think you kind of get the idea of the accuracy that I have on this thing. Keep in mind, I don't have anything on this ship as far as a commander. Like I don't have the Azerlane Scharnhorst or anything like that. This is Jackie Fisher with the Kara McMordoff skin, or guys, if that's what they call it. And the ship's pretty much just as accurate as it's going to be. So it'd be interesting. I might later on switch it to like the Azerlane Nelson or something like that to see just how accurate I can get this thing to be. But so, here we go. Broadside Russian battleships are always welcome on this channel. So let's see. Random look at my stats, and those all look good. And what do? We do a lot. We went from what, 38 to 64, 26,000 damage with one hit. I'll take that. There's that destroyer. Keep him in mind. He's going to be he'll be around towards the end of the video. We'll see him again. And he's kind of trying to turn away, but not really. So we're going to victimize him again. What do we do this time? Maybe 10, close to 10 that time. So now I got to start to worry a little bit. There's members of their team are starting to realize that we're basically just running down this side of the map, and there's an Iowa coming my way. And now that I tried to fire to finish off that Soyuz, that Iowa, I got to turn in towards that Iowa to try to negate some of the impact from any shells if he decides to shoot at me. Fortunately, he's a little too distracted by our friends. I do take one hit, but that's from that Russian battleship who finally decided that maybe he should shoot back at the guy who's taken him for 80,000 damage so far. So the Iowa here is broadside. Oh, it looks like I'm ready to cook my burgers. That's always good. Wait a minute, let's check on the puppy. Yeah, the corgi's asleep. Let's see. Okay, let's finish this video. We've only tried to record it 5 times. We're doing good so far, I think. So let's see, the Iowa, we took in a couple shots at the Iowa, trying to keep our bow somewhat towards him to bounce any shells that come from him. He's gonna, I think, not be much longer for this world. Yep, so down he goes. We don't get the kill, but we get the helping hand medal there. So we got 92,000 damage so far. Things are looking pretty good. We are down 2 ships. That is not looking good. And if you also look at, I've noticed at this point, we're also nobody left on the west side of the map, and our base is being captured. So look at my team. We've got a cruiser right near their base. We've got a destroyer in their base capturing. And then we've got another cruiser that's heading directly into their base. I got a Massachusetts here off of my starboard bow. So I'm saying to myself, I'm fast. I'm a British battlecruiser. I put on the speed boost. Is there any way I could get back in time to try to stop them? And hopefully my teammates go up there, and if we put 2 or 3 ships in their capture, we'll capture their base before they capture ours. That's the thought, right? Well, that's not how things work out. Literally, my entire team comes back. So, I think, of all the times I complain about not getting enough help, or other people complaining about not getting enough help, now I'm getting all the help. So, another way to win the game is just to kill the entire enemy team. So let's try that. So we're shooting at the Mogami. My God, I wish I had armor piercing loaded for that one. We've got at least 3 cruisers, another one off my bow here. You can see just off the right side of the screen. I got the Baltimore that we victimized at the beginning of the match. I've got the Mogami, who's now going to be on my starboard bow. And let's see, I got another Mogami behind the island. Oh, and most importantly, we have now found the destroyer who's trying to almost capture our base. So we victimize him, and let's see, I think we get one more shot, sneak it over the island here. That brings him down to, if that Massachusetts and the secondaries can sneeze on that destroyer is dead. So I'm waiting for the Massachusetts to take him out. I just said, you know what, I can't wait anymore for the Massachusetts to take him out. So it's not that I wanted to steal the kill. It's I've been victimized by assuming other teammates will take the guy out, or the destroyer with 5 ounces of health left, and destroyer ends up disappearing into a cloud of smoke and torpedoing me into oblivion. So I don't want that to happen again. So now we got the Plymouth. The Plymouth is about to lose most of his health thanks to my 16.5-inch guns, and he's going to try to cut back in on me. I think he missed with his first set of torpedoes, and I've got the American cruiser, the Baltimore, is sliding behind that island. He doesn't want any of this. He's still taking shots at me, but I've taken almost no damage. So I'm holding my fire because I'm waiting for that Baltimore to come back around, thinking maybe he might back out and try to put one right through my cheek and my Citadel. That has not happened, but now I've got a choice now that the Plymouth is dead. And I look up at the screen, and I've only got the destroyer, who's obviously in our base, and I've got the cruiser that went behind the island. Do I chase after the cruiser and hope that the Massachusetts, with not much health, isn't going to take a torpedo and we're not going to lose the match? No. I got to help that Massachusetts out. So I put that torpedo there thinking maybe, because it had been so long that cruiser hadn't come out from the other side of the island, maybe he was backing up, but it turns out that bad timing, bad luck. So I slow down here a little bit just to get another shot or two off of my secondaries, because remember, with this British Battlecruiser, most of the secondaries are on the aft side of the ship. So I get a couple more shots, and then I head in here. The Massachusetts, that Baltimore has taken his attention, the attention from my cruiser friend too. I think they end up taking each other out in mutually assured destruction. So we're going to charge in here and try to take out the destroyer. There's the first set of torpedoes from that destroyer. My experience has been most destroyer captains are like squirrels. They're a little skittish, and as soon as something that doesn't smell right or doesn't look right, they start to panic a little bit. So I find the best thing to do is to be a little unpredictable. So I'm going to lay out a torpedo over here, because they're probably not going to help me too much with the destroyer, but if I put a couple torpedoes off of the sides, maybe they're random torpedoes that the destroyer's not expecting. So if he tries to flank me or something like that. So I put that one kind of straight out because I was going to turn to port, and I'm still scanning with the guns. I'm trying to keep that aft gun somewhat centered. So if he pops up, I can have that gun pointing where I need it to be, instead of having to swing all the way back around the ship. So it's a Udachi, Japanese destroyer, which means he has long lance torpedoes. Look that up. That's a thing. The long lance torpedoes were the super deadly torpedoes that the Japanese had during World War II. So here's where usually I can get a destroyer. He's launched his torpedoes. I don't think he has many left. Or he's waiting for them to reload. I just head into the smoke screen. What can I do to cause this guy to panic and make a mistake? And even if he tries to stay in the smoke screen, he's eventually going to get into maximum or minimum detection range, which I think he does right here. Yeah, 1.9, 1.8, and this is where we finish him off. He should have just ran for the back of the map. So there you go. Top of our team, 142,000 damage. This has been the Tier 8 British Battlecruiser, the Duncan. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.